If no one else will come, I will go and fight the Tatars alone." And with that, the Sultan ordered the envoys seized, cut in half at the waist, then decapitated, and their heads displayed on Cairo's imposing Zuwilla Gate.
Battle of Ain Jalut, whatever the heck it's called. I don't know how to pronounce that. I saw the History March version and the Kings and Generals version. I decided to do the History March version because I like the way how they do their battles. A battle that saved Islam. Interesting. Never heard of a battle that saved Islam.
In the 13th century, a new power emerged on the Mongolian steppe, led by Genghis Khan, who mobilized his people for war and conquest. He carved out a vast empire, and upon his death in 1227, his descendants carried on his mission to conquer the world, leaving a permanent mark on history, one characterized by slaughter, destruction, and savagery. Forays into Europe reached all the way into Poland, Hungary, and the Balkans, while the advance into the Middle East brought the Muslim communities to the brink of extinction.
The brink of extinction is wild, man.
As the last bastion of Islam against a feared Mongol horde.
What about Arabia?
The battle.
What about Arabia, though? Wasn't Arabia like full of Islam? Right? Isn't that literally where the Abbasid Caliphate? No, it was the Umayyad Caliphate first, then the Abbasid Caliphate. Isn't that where the Abbasid Caliphate came from?
That will change the course of history is about to take place. But first, a big thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring us.
Oh, the memes, man. The freaking memes. The memes. Ugh.
In Egypt, the Mamluks were a warrior caste of slave origin, trained from a young age as warriors that were very capable in battle, forming a military elite of Ayyubid sultans of Egypt.
Bro, this makes you want to play Mountain Blade Bannerlord.
Power grew, and by 1250 they overthrew the Ayyubids and formed the Mamluk Sultanate. 10 years on, as the hot summer of 1260 rolled on, Cairo was the glistening jewel on the banks of the River Nile. The city's inhabitants went about their daily routines, unaware that in the palace, 4 Mongol envoys had the full attention of Sultan Saif al-Din Qutuz and his generals. They arrived on behalf of Hulagu Khan, carrying a letter that contained an unequivocal ultimatum.
Submit to us or die.
The Khan threatened with terrible destruction, vowing to shatter all mosques and kill all Muslim children if Qutuz refused to submit to Mongol rule.
Dog, like, I said this for the react to the history dose, the Mongol Empire, but the Mongols are hilarious, dude. Like, I'm not even surprised that's their ultimatum, man.
For a time, the Sultan and the envoys looked at each other in silence. Then, Qutuz withdrew to consult with his generals, while the Mongols confidently smirked. The hastily gathered council of war was a grim affair, as the high-ranking officers reminded Qutuz of the sobering Mongol advance into the Middle East. Over the past 35 years, the unrelenting advance of the Mongols brought destruction to the Islamic world. Countless cities were leveled, their populations killed or enslaved. Finally, the great Khan monk, grandson of Genghis Khan, gave his brother Hulegu command of what could have been the largest single army ever assembled by the Mongols, ordering him to conquer the remaining Islamic countries of the Middle East and North Africa.
Ooh, bro is cooking.
They marched on Baghdad with 15 Tumans, equal to 150,000 troops. The Abbasid Caliphate, although no longer the center of political power in the Islamic world, was still its intellectual heartland. In February, the Mongols took advantage of the treachery in the Abbasid court as well as Caliph's own foolishness, and cunningly captured Baghdad, a city of 1 million inhabitants, effectively putting an end to the once glorious Abbasid Empire.
Yeah, bro, go check out my reaction to the rise and fall of the Abbasid Caliphate by Epic History TV. That was good. That was good. I would honestly love to rewatch that all over again and not know anything.
Hundreds of thousands of people were put to the sword or sold into slavery. The city sacked and burned to its foundations. The Grand Library of Baghdad set on fire. The ancient irrigation...
Oh, dude. I don't like that. 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 I hate it when these libraries get destroyed. I get it. You want to destroy a city. Destroy the city. But at least leave the knowledge behind. The knowledge. Invaluable knowledge that we will never come back. Oh my gosh. I know that the burning of the Library of Alexandria is a bit overrated. But still, why would anyone destroy these pieces of knowledge? Oh my god. It blows my mind because imagine, right? What if humanity didn't do that? Because humanity did this a lot. Set themselves back. I wonder how technology would be like today if humanity didn't do that.
With the devastation so extensive that agriculture took centuries to fully recover.
You see, that's my point, man.
The Abbasid Caliphate.
That's my point.
Empires in history.
Humanity setting themselves back, bro. It's like, why would you destroy that, man?
Friend, History Time has just released a great video that covers the rise and fall of the Abbasid Caliphate in
History Time,
including the fall of Baghdad in 1258.
I've never heard of this channel ever.
In the description. Make sure to check it out after you finish watching this video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click that bell button. A year later, as the aftershocks of the fall of Baghdad were still felt through the Islamic world, Hulagu moved into Syria with a detachment of 6 Tumans, equal to 60,000 troops. The speed of the Mongol advance was frightening. By January 1260, the Mongols were at the gates of Aleppo. The walls were breached after 6 days with the help of catapults and mangonels. As they stormed the city, the Mongols were joined by their vassal Armenian and Frankish forces, killing all Muslim and Jewish men in the ensuing massacre.
Frankish? What are the Franks doing all the way being vassals for the Mongols? What? Frank? I need someone to explain that to me now.
Women and children were sent to the slave markets. Christian king of Cilician Armenia and the prince of Antioch and Tripoli were handsomely rewarded for their cooperation in the sacking of the city. After hearing of the horrific fate that Aleppo suffered, the rest of Syria capitulated by late March. With the destruction of major Muslim cities, the Mamluk Sultanate was now left as the last true stronghold of Islam. And for the Mongols, Egypt was the next target. Back in Cairo, Mamluk commanders agreed that it would be wise to capitulate to Mongol demands. Qutuz's opinion differed. Although he admitted that the Mamluks faced impossible odds against the vast Mongol army, he was a proud and strong-willed leader.
Oh!
To submit would be an act of cowardice.
Okay.
It needs a warrior as its king, he exclaimed. If no one else will come, I will go and fight the Tatars alone. And with that, the Sultan ordered the envoys seized, cut in half at the waist, then decapitated, and their heads displayed on Cairo's imposing Zuwila Gate.
Yo, okay, I was hyping this guy up. But that was unexpected. Oh my goodness.
To Hulagu was irrevocable. The Mamluks will not bow to the invader. The killing of envoys enraged the Khan, and the preparations for a full-scale war began at once. Qutuz had a difficult task ahead of him. He was vastly outnumbered. The Mamluk Sultanate was divided into 24 districts, each charged with supplying 1,000 troops, which placed the total number of Mamluk cavalry at 24,000.
That's
4,000 were royal Mamluks.
That's actually pretty sizable.
Emir's Mamluks, and 10,000 were more regular troops of various origins. Meanwhile, Hulegu had 60,000 troops across Syria.
Bro, I want to know something, right? And I want, like, if someone can answer this for me, please answer this for me. How did they know, like, the border of each distance? Like, how did they figure out that, hey, this is the border to this place? And how were they able to, like, map it out so good, so accurately? I really want to, like, I always never understood how they were able to do that. Bro, if someone can please answer that for me, please answer that. Like this. How did the Mamluks, or just how did people back then, because, you know, today we have satellites. And even then, that still confuses the living heck out of me, because I still don't understand how in the world we're so able to accurately pinpoint, like, yo, this is the border here. But back then, it's even more confusing because they didn't have, like, aerial view. So it's like, how did they figure out how to, like, get the accurate borders without messing anything up?
Nevertheless, Qutuz began defensive preparations. Perhaps most importantly, he could call upon his rival Baibars, one of the best military commanders of his time, to join him, promising to give control of Aleppo to him after the war. Baibars was of Turkic origin, either a Kipchak or a Cuman. He was part of the Bali tribe that lived north of the Black Sea, and, while still a boy, he was enslaved by the Mongols during their invasion of Europe, and eventually sold to the Ayyubid Sultan of Egypt and Syria.
Oh, wow.
In Cairo, he was educated in accordance with the Mamluk Furasiyu code. He underwent years of extensive military training and received an excellent education.
Bro, it's always the people that were used, like, always slaves.
Displayed exceptional military prowess, and upon completing his training, he was appointed as commander of an elite group of Sultan's personal bodyguards. He distinguished himself in battle during the Seventh Crusade and, alongside Qutuz himself, was one of the commanders who destroyed the Crusader army at the Battle of Al-Manzura in 1250.
Oh, wow.
The ninth himself was captured. After the fall of Damascus in 1260, Baibars was invited by Sultan Qutuz to lead the elite Mamluk vanguard against the Mongols. As defensive preparations in Egypt continued, word reached Qutuz that Hulagu postponed the campaign against Egypt and withdrew most of his troops east. The death of the great Khan monk prompted Hulagu to return to Karakorum for the election of the new great Khan.
Might be a serious blunder.
His trusted lieutenant Kitbuka in charge of defending Syria until he returned to continue the campaign against Egypt. Kitbuka, who was now governor of Aleppo, was given command of one Tumen of 10,000 troops. Additional 2,000 troops of Cilician Armenians, Georgians, the garrison from Aleppo, as well as locally recruited nomads were added to Kitbuka's command, increasing his total force to around 12,000.
Half.
Estimated that Palestine could not sustain an army larger than 15,000 for a prolonged period of time. Furthermore, intelligence gathered from captive and allied...
YouTube, do not demonetize my video. Okay, don't shadow ban my video because he said that word. I don't like saying that word.
Soldiers suggested that the Mamluks would be able to field no more than 15,000 troops in Palestine. And indeed, for the offensive, Qutuz prepared 14,000 of his best Mamluks, including Bedouins, Turkoman Mamluks, Mongolian deserters, and members of the Hawara tribe of Libya, assigning 10,000 troops to stay behind and guard Egypt against a possible Christian invasion.
Bro, he's still worrying about a Christian invasion?
In late July,
Still worrying about the Christians coming? Even when the Mongols are at your doorstep? That is madness, man.
large vanguard contingent, force marching to secure Gaza. Both Qutuz and Baibars saw the departure of Hulagu's main army as an opportunity to attack the Mongol rearguard. Qutuz sent urgent letters to Latin crusaders, asking them to join him. However, the crusaders, fearing excommunication as well as Mongol reprisals, opted for the middle ground by giving the Mamluk army safe passage and allowing them to purchase supplies as they passed through.
Smart. Smart.
Qutuz reached Kitbuka of the approaching enemy. He marched out to meet the Islamic army. Having received reports that Qutuz was
Interesting position to be for the Latin Crusader kingdom because, oh, dude, the Mongols. Oh, dude, I didn't even realize the Mongols are at your doorstep, but you can't really help them. You can't help. Oh, that is. Oh, freaking hell! What would you do in this situation, man? I don't even know what I would do in this situation, man.
territory, he planned to intercept the Sultan. Meanwhile, Qutuz reached Acre and camped outside the city to purchase provisions for his troops. Mongol spies reported the size and position of the Mamluk army, and Kitbuka hastened his march, hoping to surprise the Muslims. The Mongols marched along the eastern side of Lake Tiberias. Once they passed the lake, they crossed the River Jordan and proceeded west towards the Spring of Goliath, where, according to legend, David slew Goliath.
Oh, wow, okay.
Mongols force marched into...
You know, I heard about that story of David and Goliath. You know, obviously because I'm Christian. But I never really knew the location of that. It reminds me of how allegedly they found Noah. They found Noah's Ark, allegedly.
Wanting to intercept and surprise the Mamluks. Cilician, Armenian and Frankish troops were placed in the vanguard because they knew the terrain and could guide the rest of the army. The Jezreel Valley was surrounded by Mount Gilboa in the south and the hills of Galilee to the north. As the Mongol army crossed the River Jordan, they were surprised by Baibar's contingent. Sudden volleys of Mamluk arrows opened the engagement. The Christian heavy cavalry moved to close the distance. Baibars caught the Mongols off guard. Just like the Crusaders leading the enemy's vanguard, he too knew the lay of the land, and he moved his troops into position to launch a surprise attack, while skillfully avoiding detection by Mongol scouts. Cilician
Home field advantage.
Contact with the Muslim line, instantly breaking up their formation. A seemingly chaotic skirmish erupted as the Mamluks were being pushed back.
Bruh, come on. It's 2 versus like 5.
By the gentle ridge running north-south, where fighting was taking place, and not being able to see how many Mamluk troops are deployed beyond the ridge, he sent more troops to bolster the Christian charge, and ordered the rest of his troops to form the battle lines. With Baibar's exceptional leadership, the Mamluk vanguard is able to maintain discipline during a series of maneuvers, rotating between intense brief hand-to-hand clashes, followed by short retreats and arrow volleys. Thus pulled back the entire army with a significantly smaller force, gradually giving ground to the enemy.
This man is the definition of tactics, bruh. This is what tactics look like. This is what real warfare tactics look like, man. Freaking hell. This is what I like to see.
Despite taking considerable losses, the Mamluk commander kept his line stable as he rounded the mountain slopes, maintaining a fighting retreat under increasing Mongol pressure. Baibar's troops have reportedly used early forms of handguns to shoot at the enemy. These weapons, while very inaccurate, were very effective at scaring Mongol horses, thereby disrupting and slowing their advance.
Oh yeah, handguns. Now that I think about it, when were the first gun invented? Because I know gunpowder was discovered on accident by monks in China, but I never knew like when the first guns were actually like invented. Someone answer that for me.
Off the field in panic with their riders. After hours of holding back the overwhelming Mongol advance, tiredness set in and Baibar's contingent began taking heavy losses.
Yeah, bro, you fought well.
Clear that his force was only a part of the Mamluk army. From the surrounding hills, hidden in the trees, Qutuz watched and waited for the enemy to come to him.
Come on, Baibars, make it.
Seeing the Mongols pushing Baibar's back, Qutuz bolstered the morale of his troops with a rousing speech, which historians say elicited tears from the eyes of his soldiers, and he reminded them of the Mongol savagery, saying, "There is no alternative to fighting, except a horrible death for all of you, your wives, and your children."
Facts, man. I mean, you could always submit and it won't do anything, but he's still spitting facts.
Charge, aiming to finish off Baibar's vanguard before they could rejoin the main Mamluk force. Qutuz countered by ordering his right flank to charge out of the tree line into the Mongol left. Recognizing that he is surrounded on three sides, Qutuz ordered his troops to charge, shoot and break away in an attempt to lure the Mamluks into giving chase. But Baibars and Qutuz recognized the feigned retreat ruse. They ordered the men to hold their ground and shoot their arrows at the enemy from where they stood. Aware that Mamluk bows and arrows are much deadlier at longer range, and seeing that the feigned retreat didn't work, Qutuz quickly adapted. He ordered the bulk of his cavalry to swing across the valley and charge the Mamluk left flank, while instructing the rest of his troops to close ranks and hold against the Mamluk center and right flank. His plan was to use the gentle slope to mount a mass charge that will smash the Mamluk left flank and encircle their army. As Qutuz's left flank met the Mongol charge, they were in trouble almost straight away. By overloading the flank, the Mongols pushed back the Muslim line. His flank is in danger of collapsing. Qutuz ordered a detachment of troops to follow him, and he rushed to reinforce his troops. In the center, Baibars consolidated his lines after his fighting retreat and began pushing back the Christian heavy cavalry.
Alright, Baibar, come back!
Fighting was bloodiest in the center as the mounted Mamluk and Crusader troops locked in bitter hand-to-hand combat.
I bet.
Baibars personally led his contingent from the front, urging his men to defend their country against the invader. Meanwhile, Mamluk's left flank was in dire straits.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now.
The line faltered under the weight of the Mongol attack, and some troops began fleeing. As the Mamluk left...
You know something that I just noticed, right? Bro, I love this picture of Qutuz. Bro, that picture of Qutuz goes so hard. It's random, but...
Flank began collapsing. The Mongols pressed forward, seeing their chance to rout and envelop the enemy. Galloping up the hill, Qutuz urged his men to stand and fight as he rushed to shore up the ranks. He took off his helmet so that his soldiers could recognize him. "Oh, Islam!" he shouted 3 times and charged into the enemy line with his personal retinue. This act...
Oh my god! Nah, bro! Qutuz! Hey, bro. Bro, history march. Why'd you say it like that, man? Hey, bro, Qutuz, look. We gotta keep it PG over here, alright? Oh, yeah, sorry, that's too funny, bro. Qutuz is, it sounds like Qutuz is finishing off the Islam. Oh, that's hilarious, dude. I'm sorry. The way how you just said that is just hilarious. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look. it's pretty hype, but still, I guess it's the voice actor that really made that hilarious. Like the way how it sounded just sounded so.
Of courage invigorated
Like I get it, you love Islam, but like, calm down.
the troops who rallied to his banner. After another hour of fighting, the Mongol push slowed as the Sultan managed to stabilize the flank. Qutuz now found himself in a dangerous situation. When his attempt to overrun the Mamluk left stalled, his own position became exposed after he sent his last reserves to try and stop Baybar's attack in the center.
Oh yeah, that's actually bad.
Seeing that the Mongols have committed all of their troops, Baybar sent urgent messages to the right flank, ordering them to push the Mongols at all cost, seeing his chance to encircle them from the right. Meanwhile, more troops reinforced the Mamluk left flank, and Qutuz at last managed to turn the tide. Less suited to hand-to-hand combat, the Mongols could not withstand the determined Muslim cavalry, and their numerical advantage, they began falling back. Qutuz's other flank also began collapsing inward, and now the danger was real that his position would soon be completely surrounded. One of his officers suggested to him to retreat, but Qutuz replied, "We must die here, and that is the end of it. Long life and happiness to the Khan." And with those words, he too joined the fighting.
Wow, alright Qutuz, respect to you. Hey, I gotta show some respect to Qutuz, bro. And his picture goes hard, okay?
The resolve of the Mongol troops hardened. But as the Mamluks encircled the invaders, Qutuz was captured by Baybar's troops amidst the fighting. By now, the Mongols were tactically outmatched on the field, and seeing their leader fall into enemy hands, they realized that the battle was lost.
Yeah.
The rest of Qutuz's troops began breaking out and retreated towards Basan. On that day, the Muslim army achieved a great victory at Ain Jalut. By halting the westward Mongol expansion and thus saving the three holiest cities, Mecca, Medina, and Jerusalem, from destruction, Qutuz became the savior.
Jerusalem. I don't think Jerusalem was ever a Muslim city. I know Mecca, Medina, yeah, but Jerusalem was like Jewish, right? I don't understand when Jerusalem became Muslim, like ever.
Savior of Islam, and arguably, he saved his Christian enemies in the west from the Devil's Horsemen, a name attributed to the Mongols. For had they managed to conquer Egypt, the way across northern Africa, all the way to the Strait of Gibraltar, would have been open. In theory, this would have enabled the Mongols...
Yo, the Mongols got all the way to Krakow? I didn't know they got all the way to Rus. I didn't know they go all the way to freaking Poland.
Europe, and invade on multiple fronts, making it difficult for any European army to be positioned in order to hold them back. But Qutuz...
It's amazing how the freaking, like Europe was not conquered by the Mongols. Like, Europe was ripe for the taking. Blows my mind how Europe was not conquered.
Did not get to enjoy this triumph. He was assassinated a few days after the battle, while the army was returning to Cairo.
Really?
Having been loyal to the Aybak faction,
really?
he certainly had a few enemies and rivals. Baybars, a member of the Bari faction, was the most powerful of his rivals, and it is possible that he was responsible for Qutuz's death as retaliation, because the late Sultan refused to give control of Aleppo to Baybars, as he had promised.
Wow.
His power and ambition.
Wow. Wow. That's...
triumphant return to Cairo, he became the new Mamluk Sultan. Sultan Baybars was an equally capable ruler as Qutuz, continuing the strong Mamluk traditions. Irrespective of their political rivalry, Qutuz and Baybars were men whose deeds on the battlefield...
Well, all I can say is Allah grant him a place in Jannah. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but you get my point.
That Ain Jalut preserved Islam from destruction.
So at the end, yes, it did. And honestly, I'm actually kind of happy. I'm not Islamic, but I'm actually kind of happy that Islam didn't get destroyed. I kind of view Islam as a brother religion to Christianity. So I'm actually quite happy Islam did not get destroyed. Me personally, I do believe that when God comes back, everything is going to be explained to us. So I'm actually quite glad that Islam was not destroyed. So look, man, if you made it all the way till the end of this video and you're not subscribed, go subscribe. What are you doing? Go watch my other reactions, because I have plenty of reactions on my channel. Okay, I do. And go, hey, like my video. A lot of you have not been liking my video. All right, I need y'all to like my video so that the YouTube algorithm can see that y'all are liking, unironically like my video, man. All right, man. Thank you for watching and goodbye.